Hello, Jordan. I am the backup recording. Thank you for using me as a recording audio interface.
I need that Stephen Hawking voice for the voice of the backup recording.
Was it like, hello?
That was
Welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate. I am Stephen Hawking. Today we were going to do The Lodge.
That's too good.
I'm speaking to you from the grave.
You gotta start it like that. Damn, would you practice Stephen Hawking at some point in your life?
I've been practicing my whole life. I just sit in a wheelchair. I'd have nothing else to do.
Oh, I got the hiccups, man. Now we're not gonna get to start the fucking podcast.
I'm crying.
Damn it.
Stephen Hawking shedding tears.
Oh, I got the hiccups for real now.
I had no idea that I could do that good.
It's funny because when I took the headphones off, it wasn't near as good, but coming through the mic, it sounds perfect.
Oh, man.
Bro, what are we gonna do? I got the hiccups now.
Well, I have a bunch of talking to do, so maybe they'll go away by the time I'm done talking. Yeah, so welcome to the show. And today we are going to be doing the fuck, man, we're never going to get through this. Today we're doing the Lodge from 2019. I'm not going to ask you if you have any news because you're not going to be able to get through it.
Today, the news.
Yeah, I wonder if I could get through the whole entire news in Stephen Hawking voice.
So Lionsgate just acquired the domestic.
I can't do it. So anyway, we'll go over a little bit of news real quick. So yesterday, Lionsgate just acquired the domestic rights to the Crow reboot starring Bill Skarsgård. I didn't know that there was a Crow reboot.
I think I'd heard about it. I feel like a while back that they were going to do that. That they were, I think remaking it.
I had no idea.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of remaking it with Brandon Lee. I thought he killed that role and then died doing it. So it's kind of.
So they just should give it to him.
Yeah, they should just let him keep it. If you put so much into a role that you die, you should just
you give your life for the role.
He did. And then they're gonna try to remake it. Like what a slap in the face.
I will say, Bill
Skarsgård though,
he looks like him. I feel like that he's gonna look like the Crow. I feel like he's gonna.
I feel like that dude is such a good actor.
He's good in everything he does.
Like I know it's not gonna be anything on him. I think it's probably gonna be a great movie. It's just he might outdo.
Oh wow,
he's that good.
Damn.
I mean, Bill Skarsgård, man, everything he does is like he does incredible in everything. He's got a very wide range of acting.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
He's good.
It's good.
I didn't know they were doing this, but yeah, I guess Lionsgate just they got the domestic rights. It is directed. It's directed by Rupert Sanders. The movie is expected to release next year. The film actually wrapped production September of 2022, so it's just been kind of sitting waiting for somebody to. I guess it's kind of been trying to work out the deal since last year. I had no idea it existed. Didn't know they were doing it. And I went to look and see when they were going to start filming it, and it has been done. So
I told you, I thought I heard about that initially a long time ago that they were doing that. So that makes sense.
Now, so Eli Roth's Thanksgiving dropped its teaser trailer yesterday. The movie was originally a fake trailer as part of the Grindhouse double feature in 2007, which that's right there, sitting right there. It's now a real movie.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah, so after a Black Friday riot ends in a tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. It is due in theaters November 17th. I am excited.
Yeah, I am too. Especially Eli Roth's doing it. Yeah, we don't have many Thanksgiving horror movies. Seems like they just skip over that and go right to fucking Christmas.
Yeah, we got like Thanksgiving. That's all I can really think of. I'm sure there's something else, but
Was that the one you were telling me about?
Yeah.
The killer turkey.
yeah, it's
Jesus.
But the only downside, I mean, I love the trailer. The only downside is it's not that Grindhouse style. I wish they would have stuck with that. But, it is what it is. It still looks good. I'm still excited. So I will be in the theaters in November, ready to see it.
I'm sorry, I gotta go back to this. Is the turkey like avenging its family members and friends? She's just tired of watching fellow turkeys
No,
get
it's just
killed for Thanksgiving.
It's an evil turkey.
Is he evil or is he really good?
Well, good question. We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we need to watch Thanksgiving.
Justice for turkeys.
So another announcement is this weekend coming up, we will be heading to the South Carolina Horror Convention in Columbia, South Carolina. This marks the first ever horror convention in the state's history, and we look forward to it becoming an annual event. We will be covering all the cool horror shit that we come across on all our social media accounts, so keep an eye out for that. You can find us on Facebook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instagram at the grindhousesyndicate.horror.pod, and our TikTok account at GrindMJAJ4W. Man, that's a mouthful.
We have a TikTok.
We do, unfortunately, have one.
Wow.
I don't know how to use it.
We got to get some teenagers in here and
Yeah,
get us rolling on the TikTok.
Well, I'm going to try to get some short videos of the convention, which is originally why I started it. So
cool. That's cool.
But yeah, so check out any of those accounts and we'll have some stuff up on all of those, along with every time we kind of post something new about the show. That's all of our updates go on, all that stuff too. So just wanted to put that info out there.
Start a new TikTok trend at the convention.
Well, TikTok's very trendy.
Go to conventions and shove Tide Pods up your ass.
Tide Pods are so last year.
No, not shoving them up their ass, though.
That probably has been a thing.
You're right. You're right.
I don't keep up with the trends, but yeah, so we'll kind of talk about these ratings real quick for this movie. Rotten Tomatoes, 75%. IMDb, 6 out of 10. Letterboxd, 3.1.
They gave it a 3.1 or a 6 out of 10 on IMDb.
They did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thought the Rotten Tomatoes would be a little higher too, considering the great cinematography of the movie.
Yeah, I think they're low, but I think that I don't know, man. Maybe the problem is this movie just is not big,
and it should be. That's a shame. This is a big reason why I picked this movie to do is it doesn't have a lot of notoriety where it deserves notoriety.
Yeah, this movie, if you do want to watch it, and hopefully you do, it is available to stream on HBO Max if you have that. And you can find it on, like YouTube and Amazon Prime, all those if you want to rent it. I recommend purchasing it, though. Buy a physical copy and you'll have it forever. And you can sleep with it and you can cuddle it. And anytime you feel like feeling dead inside, you could watch it because that's what's going to happen to you.
Yes. It's good shit. I love feeling dead inside.
My soul felt empty when this movie ended. So The Lodge is a 2019 psychological horror film directed by Veronica Franz and I'm going to butcher some of these names because they're I don't know. I think they're like some of them are Greek names maybe. Severin Fella, written by both of them and Sergio Casse. It stars Riley Keough. I I'm
What was
butchering.
that last name?
Keo.
Keo. Okay.
Yeah. Jaden Martell, Leah McHugh, Alicia Silverstone, and Richard Armitage. It was announced in October 2017 and began in March 2018 and wrapped later that same month. It only took a month to film, which is not surprising.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of places to go.
Yeah.
Kind of at the same spot as the movie.
It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2019. It had a limited release by Neon in February of 2020. The film received generally positive reviews.
It should have.
Yes. The film is very influenced by the Alfred Hitchcock movie Rebecca from 1940 about a woman who suspects her home is haunted by her husband's dead wife. Yeah.
Interesting.
I've never seen Rebecca, but
I mean, neither. What year did you say that was?
1940.
Jesus
black and
Christ. That's dated.
Yep. Filming for The Lodge took place in Montreal in the winter of 2018. The house used for filming was located on a golf resort that was closed for the winter because you can't golf in the snow, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, I guess it would be hard to golf in the snow.
I mean, you could try.
I mean, you technically could, but
You physically could.
It would not.
You would lose your ball within minutes.
I don't know. You'd be able to know where your ball's at. What do you mean? You look in the
white.
snow.
It's white.
Yeah, but you would have a hole in the snow.
Yeah, but if you when you go to,
I mean, if you're talking about like deep snow like it is in this movie, I mean,
you hit it and then would go 100 yards and you wouldn't know exactly where it landed. Okay, this is a stupid debate. The film was shot in oh man, I'm chronological.
They were all high as hell. They were on that chronic.
It was shot in chronic order. Dr.
Dre did this.
It's in chronological order to help the actors portray the downward spiral their characters take. The film was shot by cinematographer. Here we go. I'm gonna mess this one up. I tried to look this up to learn how to say this. Was not successful.
Yeah, this guy deserves his name said right, so don't fuck it up.
I wanted to, this is a beautiful movie, and I wanted to include the cinematographer. Thermos Bakatakis. I thought it was pretty good. That came out better than I thought it was going to.
That came out better?
It came out better than I thought it did. It's Bakatakis.
Bakatakis.
Yes. He's from Greece.
Well, fucking cheers to him because he made an awesome movie.
Well, he intentionally did not shoot any scenes at eye level, instead opting to shoot above or below the actors' faces, intending to model the film after a haunted house movie. And this was done because they really wanted you to think that the house was being haunted by the ex-wife, much like Rebecca.
Nice.
So the box office. During opening weekend, it grossed a little over $76,000 in just 6 theaters. It was eventually expanded to 322 theaters and had a total of $1.6 million in the U.S. and a grand total worldwide $2.6 million.
That's so fucking sad. How much did they? What was the budget?
There is zero information on the budget.
They probably lost money if that's all they made. Good
There's
God.
no information on the budget.
That's sad.
Yep. Well, I don't know. It can't be that bad because it was only released in 322 theaters. I mean, what do you expect?
Well, hopefully some people hear this and go buy it.
That wasn't even until 3 weeks later.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it did bad for the amount of theaters. I'm just saying that for as good of a movie as it is, it deserved much more than what it got.
Yeah. This movie
was it like a COVID thing? Did COVID fuck it up?
It didn't say.
Goddamn
COVID.
I mean,
I don't know. COVID the theaters were closed, weren't they?
Well, in most places, that might be why it only released in very, very, very limited theaters.
Yeah, I don't know. But Yeah, I mean, you want to jump into the plot?
What is it, 320 something theaters?
322.
I wonder how many theaters is in the U.S. That might be a good
I
bit
don't
of
know.
theaters. I don't know.
I don't think
Anyway,
it is.
yes, let's jump into the plot. I keep backtracking here. Let's do it.
So the movie starts out by introducing us to Laura Hall and her two children. Aiden, who I will probably refer to multiple times as Bill. It's Bill from It.
Yep. Yeah.
I couldn't stop calling him Bill. He's always going to be Bill from It.
Yeah. This was the first comment I made is Georgie came back as a woman, as a girl. He's got a little sister now.
Yeah, so Aiden / Bill, who is 17, and his sister Maya, who is 12. Laura and her husband are separated, and she is dropping off the kids at his home for what I guess is the week. They don't really specify. Maybe they have shared custody. And while they are at his house, her estranged husband, Richard, tells her that he's planning on getting married to the woman that he's been seeing, and it's time for her to sign the divorce papers. And Laura gets visibly upset and leaves Richard's house immediately. I just want to say that hallway is disguised as a kitchen.
Yeah, that's literally, I said that to Brooke. I was like, literally, that is a hallway kitchen.
That is a really fancy, expensive house with a hallway as a kitchen.
The most cramped kitchen you could imagine. Like having kids, I couldn't imagine dealing with that small of a kitchen. I'm pretty sure they took a hallway and just built a kitchen in it
just repurposed it.
And that, God, man, I thought this guy, when he tells her that he wanted to finalize the divorce, he gives her this little smirk. It's so fucked up, man. I felt so bad. I don't know if you caught that, but he tells her and then gives her like this smirk.
No, I was too busy trying to figure out if that was Alicia Silverstone.
It was.
I hadn't seen her in anything in so long, and I was like, man, where do I know her from? But yeah, so later on, we see Laura at home by herself, and she has a glass of wine at the dining room table. She sits very calmly, and she removes her necklace. She places it on the table. She then pulls a gun from her purse, and she places it in her mouth, and she pulls the trigger.
And this happens in about a second, maybe.
Yeah.
I loved how quick this was. Like, it was so, you're like, is she going to do it? I think she, bam.
Oh, yeah. We see a very much dead Laura with her blood splattered on the perfectly solid white wall behind her. And so if you look at her house, like everything is like so neat, so perfect. Like she's even making sure like those books and stuff, like she's straightening them up right before this. Like, she's doing this, like everything in her house and everything about her is perfect. And then, she shoots herself and it splatters the blood and even splatters it like across this crucifix right behind her. That is really good. Like it's got to be like symbolic imagery and a really good example of storytelling through camera lens.
Yeah, they do a lot of this actually in this movie. That I love that shot, literally. I thought it was beautiful. The blood splatter on the back wall. On the white wall.
If you notice too, the blood splatters just on the crucifix and around it. Doesn't go anywhere else. And I'm like, that's because, they are telling a piece of a story using not words or dialogue, but image, just images. And it kind of gives you a little insight into Laura. Like maybe she's doing this because she, is everything being perfect on the outside for everyone else to see is so important to her that a divorce, like her husband leaving her, makes her look so bad. I think that's got to be one of the angles to this. Like she just can't stand like, the depression and then plus how this looks. I think that might have something to do with it.
That's a good point. That's fair. I thought of it as like, she's spent obviously a lot of years. They have a 17-year-old trying to be the perfect wife. and then only to be left for another woman was just too much to bear.
Yeah, I'm trying to look deep into what they're showing us because I feel like this is a movie where they're showing us everything on purpose. And I kind of took that as, okay, well, if everything is so important to her that it looks like she knows that people are going to come in and find her dead. But she even places the necklace really neatly on the
Yeah,
table. She straightens the books. Like, none of that shit matters. You're about to be dead. So it doesn't matter to her. What matters to her is what people think of her, even after death. So I think this divorce, him leaving her, is a big part of why she can't deal with it. That's, just how I'm looking into it. But yeah, so next we see how Laura's death has devastated her and Richard's children, and they are now living with him full time. And this is where we get a 6-month time jump.
Yeah, as a husband and father, if I was in this situation, and because it shows them at the funeral and stuff, and obviously the kids are devastated, I would tell this other woman, like, there's no fucking way we can get married right now. Like, we got to table this. Watching my kids lose a parent over that, there's just no fucking way.
Yeah, during this whole entire movie, I tried to, not necessarily the back half of the movie, but at least the first half of the movie, I try to look at who's the bad guy in this scenario. And I will say that I kind of came to a conclusion that everybody in this story now, ever since this suicide, is really in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't handpick out a bad guy.
I think
really who's at fault in any of this situation. This is just a bunch of people that are in a bad spot with what is going on.
I'm gonna say for the beginning of the movie, the dad, he obviously he was writing this book and met this girl and decided that he was gonna leave his wife for her, because the kids even mention it.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. He may have left her and then met this girl. We don't know how long they've been split up.
Aiden says in the movie, like, you met this girl and you left mom for her. And he because when they're arguing at the table, he's like, you left mom for this psycho. And the dads didn't argue about it. He's like, just who told you she was a psychopath? Yeah, I just think to do that and move that fast into it, and try to force it on your kid. That's the thing I hate the most, is he's trying to force her on his kids. And he's got to understand the kids just lost their mom to suicide over the divorce. There's really no scenarios, no matter who you bring in, that those kids aren't going to have animosity towards. And I do hate that about the dad.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but it does suck. It does suck for him because he is. I guess it sucks kind of being unhappy and trying to, I don't know, I guess do something different with your life, and then your ex, goes and does something like this and just kind of completely derails your plans.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a shitty situation, but the part I have a problem with is him trying to force the relationship on his kids.
Yeah, this was definitely way too soon. But so it is now Thanksgiving, and Richard informs the kids that he and his girlfriend, Grace Marshall, are still planning to get married. And thanks to Aiden, we learned that Grace has a controversial past and that Richard met her while researching for a book about an extremist cult. Grace was raised in a cult, and her father was the cult's founder and leader. Richard also informs the kids that he plans on them all spending Christmas with Grace at the family's remote lodge in order for them all to get to know each other. The kids very much protest this idea, which leads to an argument between Aiden and Richard. Thanksgiving is now ruined, Dad.
Yeah, this is like I said, fortunate on the kids too fast. You're gonna take them back to a lodge. The last time they were there with their mom, and now she just died. And to to put the icing on the cake, he's trying to leave them there and go work and leave them there with this woman they don't like, obviously.
Yeah.
What a fucking,
This is
like
a
the
terrible
bad
idea.
idea of the fucking year.
Yeah, and then another thing I thought is if I was Richard and I was going to do this terrible idea, I would go up there beforehand and maybe because it's very evident that when they get there, all of the mom's stuff, all the memory, it's like they literally were just all there together.
Yeah.
And he does nothing, absolutely nothing to make sure that this isn't weird when they get there. Like a really good example of that is, they're all going ice skating and she puts on a hat and she doesn't know it's somebody's hat. And they're like, that's our mom's hat. He should have put something like that in a drawer or said, hey, don't any of these clothes that are here that are like women's clothes, don't wear them. Those are their moms.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It may have been better for him to go, remove some stuff out of there. But I feel like that would have just backfired too. The kids would have been like, well, mom just died and you're trying to make it like she was never here. I just think this plan altogether, no matter which path you take, this plan was a fucking horrible plan.
Yeah, I don't mean necessarily remove it, but maybe either give her a warning or maybe put it in a drawer. I mean, you don't have to take it out of the house, but don't just, obviously it was just a hat laying out and she just grabbed it and like put it on and she doesn't know. And he's at the center of this. He's the bridge between these two and he does nothing he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't think that he's going to take her there and the kids there and all of like their mom's shit is still there and it's not going to be weird.
Oh, they even have like home movies there.
Oh, this is a disaster.
Yeah, that's why I said for me, the dad is the bad guy at the beginning of the movie. Just horrible decision.
But later on, Aiden and Maya, they use Richard's computer to uncover Grace's past. And they read that when Grace was 12, her father led the cult to a mass suicide event, leaving Grace the only survivor tasked with spreading the cult's message after they were all gone. They also come across some video footage of the cult showing the deceased followers draped in a purple silk and duct tape across their mouths, reading the word sin.
I gotta say, this switch over to the found footage for this scene of the footage that they find, I would watch that movie. That's a movie within the movie that I would watch.
Yeah, it's very much. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's kind of ripped off an actual mass suicide. The one where they all had the black Nikes on.
Yeah, what is that?
I can't think of the name of it.
God damn it, I can't either. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna waste too much time on that. But yes, I know what you're talking about. They all
died.
Yes, they all died. But they're all like laying in these bunk beds wearing the same outfit and shit.
So Richard, Grace, the two kids, and Grace's small dog all pack into the car and they head up to the lodge. Grace tries to have some pleasant interaction with the kids, but they are very cold towards her. Once they arrive, everyone starts to unpack for the week ahead, and Grace finds a picture of Richard and Laura on the nightstand and puts it away in her drawer. In my opinion, if I was her, I would have left the picture out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put it out. I would have just, sucked it up. Like they haven't been together that long to where it's like super hurtful to see that picture. I mean, those are kids. Their mom's dead. Like I would take one for the team because if those kids find that picture in that drawer, they're gonna dislike her for it. I mean, it's I mean, it's just but it's just gonna get worse.
No, I agree. That's one that she should have left.
She makes a lot of mistakes like that.
She should have left that to Richard if it was going to be removed or not. That should have. She can't be the one to do that.
No, she just needs to just suck it up and not look at the fucking picture. Like,
I mean, she don't have competition. The girl's dead.
I mean, yeah, and not only that, but he left her, and it's not like she's got to worry about, oh, well, maybe he still loves her. I mean, she's not alive anymore. She literally killed herself because he didn't want to be with her anymore. No. But after the next day, Richard has to leave, and he heads back to the city for a couple days of work before Christmas Day. He thinks that leaving the kids with Grace will allow them to bond a little bit and ease the tensions. That's stupid.
Yeah, this whole idea was fucking stupid.
Yeah. Sorry, Richard, you're a stupid smart guy. You can write books about cults, but you can't fix this problem, apparently. Right before he leaves, he shows Grace a small safe where he keeps a gun in case of an emergency. Biggest mistake of all.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big mistake. There's something before this, remind me if I don't bring it up. But it doesn't sound like you caught it, but there's something before this scene that hints to what's to come. And I'll bring it up at the end because it doesn't sound like you caught it. But it's something that I didn't catch the first 2 times I watched this movie. That's really good. But yes, the gun. The gun was a really bad idea.
So we see this abundance of Christian symbols like on the walls of the lodge and stuff. It's kind of all over this house, like pictures and crucifixes, kind of regularly throughout this house. And they are having kind of a slight mental effect on Grace because of her past in the cult. And this leads her to start having nightmares about her father pretty much immediately. She also kind of like oddly stares at them and it's just kind of, you pretty much see that right off the bat that there's some weird shit between her and religion. On the first night that Richard is gone, we see Grace getting out of the shower and finding the word mom written on the mirror. She then catches a glimpse of Bill / Aiden watching her from the doorway in the reflection of the mirror. And here we see one of the reasons Richard wants to marry Grace.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's all I got to say about that. Apparently, yeah. Aiden's seen it too.
Yeah, he probably seen it and said, well, damn, I kind of get that. Don't blame him there. So that night, Grace continues to have nightmares or visions of the cult suicide from her past. And she wakes up kind of confused on the floor in her room. And she finds Maya's kind of like Maya carries around this special doll. It seems like the doll is supposed to be like her mom.
Yeah.
She's kind of got it dressed up like her mom. She doesn't say it's her mom, but I kind of get that feeling that it's like.
It's very clear that she uses it as like a representation of her mom, like her mom being there.
But yeah, so she finds this doll in her nightstand drawer. And Mia tells her that she can't find the doll and it's been missing since she woke up. Grace is worried that she must have taken it during her like sleepwalking, dreaming type haze thing that she did. And this is where she starts to pretend to help Mia look for the doll all throughout the house. Grace plants the doll in the dog bed, making it look like the dog Grady accidentally took it thinking it was a toy, blaming the dog on the doll theft.
Yeah,
that's real cool.
I took that as she knew that Mia was going through her stuff, but she didn't, because she wants to get along with them so much. She made it like the dog had it. She didn't put the doll up there.
Oh, I think she thinks she did.
No, I think she finds it and is like, knows that the kids were going through her stuff and in her stuff, but because she wants a relationship with the kids so bad, she doesn't ask Mia about it. She just plays it off like the dog got it.
Well, I mean, if Mia had possibly left it there, why wouldn't Mia look there? I don't know. It could be either way.
I don't know.
It's not really said clear, but
it's very, because this is the point too where you hear her leave the message for Richard, talking about how great of a time they're having.
Oh, yeah, she's totally lying.
It's very clear. I think more than having a relationship with the kids, is she wants it for Richard more than herself. Like, she just wants to make Richard happy. So she's just in the same way that at first she didn't say anything to Aiden about coming in the bathroom and
Oh, yeah.
writing mom on the mirror and seeing him, she doesn't say anything to him about it because she doesn't want any confrontation, because she wants to get along with him so well.
But later on, Grace confronts Bill about his attitude towards her and the shower incident, and it doesn't go well. They get into an argument, and later on, Bill brings her a cup of hot chocolate as kind of a peace offering. They kind of sit and they watch a movie together, and I will say, how perfect would it be to watch The Thing while snowed in a cabin in the mountains?
Yeah, I thought that was a perfect movie for the time.
And she wants to turn it off.
I want to go there and watch it.
Yeah.
I want to head there and watch it
If I
with
was
them.
Bill, if I was Bill / Aiden, I'd have been like, no. We got to finish this movie. Like, they were already like almost halfway in the movie.
She's
too.
like, she probably don't watch any horror movies.
Yeah,
She's
she
so
probably
fucked
doesn't.
up from her childhood and the cult shit. Very clear at this point in the movie that she takes medication and shit for it. Like, she had some severe issues.
Props to them for having The Thing in their collection.
Though. Yeah.
Good on them. Maya mentions how cold she is, and Bill goes to grab the propane heater, placing it kind of close by, kind of right in between them, kind of in front of them. And a little while later, everyone falls asleep. The next morning, Grace wakes up still in front of the TV with Maya. Her phone is dead, and there is no power to the house. She also discovers that most of their belongings, including their clothes, their food, and her medication, are all missing. She wakes Aiden / Bill up to start the generator, but he goes down there and comes back up and says it's not working. She accuses the kids of pulling a prank on her, but they seem just as dumbfounded as her as to what is happening. Grace notices that all the clocks have been advanced to January, and Aiden tells her that he had a dream the night before that they had all fallen asleep watching the movie, and that the gas heater had malfunctioned and killed them all, and that he had feared that they were experiencing the afterlife. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and she clearly is not bought into this idea at all. But my first thought is, man, this would be a ton of work for kids to pull off. Like, they empty out all the shit out the house.
There's pictures off the wall and everything.
I mean, all the stuff out of the refrigerator, like literally everything that's there, they get rid of.
Well, up until this point, I was thinking this is going to be a ghost movie with the ex-wife fucking with the new girlfriend, wife, whatever. And then this occurs, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, I could see that. They do have some scenes that makes it almost as if the house is haunted.
There's like
although
pictures
it's not a
fall
haunting
off
movie
and everything. Yeah,
the picture when she first walks into the cabin that night, she goes and walks up, and she closes the door, and the door opens itself back up. I thought that was I thought this would be a ghost movie at first because of that.
Yeah, I mean, ghosts don't steal everything in the house. Like, ghosts do weird stuff and they knock shit off the walls and stuff, but there's never been a ghost movie where you get up the next day and the ghost stole everything. Like, where's the, unless it's like a crackhead ghost and it's like steal all your belongings to get ghost crack.
It's going to pawn all your stuff to the other ghosts.
You're just going to the graveyard pawn shop. But this is, for me, this is where the movie takes this turn that this is the first I'm not expecting what's happening, because it's a pretty standard movie until this point, in my opinion. But so over the next couple days, Grace begins to suffer from anxiety, medication withdrawal, hunger, and cold. She begins kind of sleepwalking, is tormented by disturbing visions and dreams, including the recurring voice of her dead father's sermons, which is really creepy. Yeah, so during this time, like, all of this cult stuff starts kind of coming back up from her past. And it's almost like there are these moments where she can't tell if this is reality or if she's dreaming this stuff. It's all starting to mix in together. And then, she's hearing her father's sermons just at times when she knows she's awake. Like she knows, like, okay, I'm not dreaming. And I think this, mixed in with like her withdrawal from her medication and her medication not being in her system anymore, it's really starting to like fuck with her brain.
Yeah, it seems like she has some trauma-induced schizophrenia, and definitely some PTSD, which is probably
yeah.
what she takes medication for anyway.
Well, she had a big old bag of pills, so she
did.
She has a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely not a good situation to be in, having those issues, and then all your medication's gone on top of thinking that you might be dead.
Yeah, well, she doesn't like Aiden and Maya believe that they may possibly be dead, but I do remember that it was around this time where they keep bringing it up to her, and she gets angry because she doesn't.
Yeah, she's in denial.
Yeah, she's not on board yet, and right around this time, the dog mysteriously.
The dog is actually gone when they wake up the next day after the heater. She can't find her dog, and she really, like, that's when she really starts freaking out.
Yeah, well, so the dog is like missing, and they they can't find the dog, and that's upsetting to her. She talks about how she got the dog to help her kind of heal from her past trauma. And she, after a while, she decides to try to walk in the snowstorm to the nearest town, where she eventually comes across a cross-shaped cabin where she sees her father beckoning her. And that is a interesting cabin. I don't know if they built that for the movie or if that was already there.
No, I don't
It just
think.
looks like
I think
3 buildings stacked on itself.
I think that it's so unrealistic looking. Like, I don't think the cabin was there at all. I think this is her imagining this, because it just so happens to be the symbolism is it's shaped like a cross, and she's seeing her dad inside of it. I think this whole thing was actually not happening. I think this was her medication. She was just imagining this whole thing. Because who in the hell would build a house like that? Looks like you built a tiny shack and put a fucking trailer on top of it, and then put a tiny shack on top of that.
So she ends up walking in a circle, I guess, an accident, and she comes back to the lodge, where outside she finds a photo of Aiden and Maya in a memorial frame. Once inside, she finds the kids praying over a newspaper article detailing the deaths of all 3 of them from carbon monoxide poisoning on December 22nd. We get our first big clue that they are dead.
Yeah, and this is the part where she actually puts the crucifix back on the wall.
Yeah.
I think that signifies this is where she's fully snapped. Like, she's starting to revert back to the religious teachings that she was taught as a kid, that she was raised on. I think this is definitely symbolizes, like, this is when it gets really bad for Grace.
She probably starts thinking, oh man, my father was right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's her reverting back to those teachings. She's like, oh shit, he was right the whole time. So she puts the cross back up on the wall, and for her, it's pretty downhill from here on out.
So Aiden insists that they are in some kind of purgatory, and he claims that he can prove it. He runs up the stairs and he hangs himself in the stairway. And when Grace runs to kind of see what he has done, and she sees him hanging there, he looks dead. And as she's like freaking out, he starts to speak to her, telling her that they can't die because they're already dead. And at this point, Grace suffers a nervous breakdown. And
And I would too.
which gets way, way worse when she starts kind of wandering around outside. And while she's wandering around outside, she accidentally comes across her dog, Grady, who is frozen to death. And this is pretty much the last straw. And this sends her into a catatonic state where she sits on the front porch. The kids start to really worry about her mental state and think that she's going to die from exposure from sitting out there. And they decide that it is time to end the charade. It was the goddamn kids all along.
Yeah, so when in the scene, I love the scene where he hangs himself because that was the selling scene for me. I'm like, oh, they are dead.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They're definitely dead. And when she first looks up at him, they time this so perfectly. There's like a 7 or 8 second pause just looking up at his body hanging. And then you're like, oh, fuck. They weren't dead. His kid just hung himself. And then he starts talking. And you're like, oh, they were dead. They can't die. I love that. And I totally don't blame her for absolutely losing her fucking mind after that.
Yeah, they just reversed years and years of like mental health healing that she had done after all that cult shit. They just wiped it off the board in just a matter of days.
Yeah. So what I was going to mention earlier, and I didn't notice this the first 2 times I watched this movie, but it shows Aiden and Maya packing their bags to go, and it shows Aiden, and it's very brief. You gotta look really close to catch it, but he puts a harness in his bag, which is what he uses to fake his hanging.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
He puts 2 candles in there.
I remember the candles. I remember thinking that's weird.
And they're actually used. You see this used in the picture when they're burning, and it's in the hallway. And she's like, "What the fuck is that?" And she blows the candles out.
With the doll sitting in the middle. Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
And the last thing he throws in there is a picture frame. And it's actually face down, which ends up being the in loving memory picture of the kids. So that was really brief. You don't catch it. You don't think anything of it. I didn't even catch it the first 2 times I watched it. But if you catch that scene and you're thinking about it, it's very obvious that they're not dead the whole time. These kids are just fucking bastards.
There was another thing that I caught the second time I watched it was when the dad finally can't get a hold of them, and he's at the house right before he kind of realizes something wrong. He's in Maya's room and he's looking at her big ass dollhouse, which is way too big for that room. But anyway, he sees the little plan that you remember they had like the dolls set up with the plan. Like they have like Aiden hanging in the stairway, and then they have like the 3 of them dead in the living room in front of the TV. So they literally, like, I guess while they were planning it, was like acting it out or like saying that this is how we're going to do this. And they were using this dollhouse to help them plan it. And they left it like that. And he sees this and he's like, what the fuck is this? And once he sees this, he's like, oh, I need to go there. Yeah. I guess it's, between not hearing from them for like a day and then seeing this, he realizes something's wrong. I don't know if maybe he thought one of his kids were going to kill themselves or something there or something like that. But I didn't catch that on the first time. But because it shows this, it has very much that hereditary thing going on with that doll. It shows all these scenes with the dollhouse. Because, I mean, this movie shot phenomenally. Yeah, there's amazing shots throughout this whole movie.
I love the symbolism of the dollhouse, and that's the first thing I thought of was Hereditary. And they keep going back to this dollhouse and showing the scenes as they're unfolding, and it's very unclear what's going on. Like, is the dollhouse changing, and is it just symbolism in the movie? And then you realize in that scene, this is actually something that they set up beforehand and kind of played it out through the dollhouse. Thought that was done really, really good.
I remember thinking too, like, how is this not like an A24 movie?
Yeah,
This screams like an A24 movie.
it does. It does. I can agree with that.
I mean, it has so much in common with a lot of A24 movies, but the main one I would say is Hereditary. It has such a Hereditary vibe to it.
It does.
I mean, even some of the ways it's shot.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah, the dark. It's like shot really dark and dry, and it's
And
kind of a slow burn. It's very quiet. They don't use a whole lot of background music and stuff to amp stuff up. It's very as if you were there. Like you feel like you're there for a lot of it, and they really let those emotions of the scene sink in, and that's something that Hereditary does really well.
it has another real similar thing too, where what we were saying is when we thought it was going to be like this ghost movie, and then they wake up and they think they're dead, everything's gone, and we get this like the movie just takes off in this different direction. That's the same thing Hereditary does, where you think the little girl is going to be the focal point of this movie, and she gets her head knocked
Fucking
off,
head knocked
and then the
off.
movie just cuts to this different direction, and you're like, what the fuck? And it's the same thing with the ending, where you're thinking, what's going on here? What is the outcome that this is going to be? And they both also have the same, kind of family annihilation. That is the end result of both these movies. This is such a similar movie. It's shot similar, it's written similar, and they're both very, very good movies.
Yeah, I didn't catch that comp there, but that does. I did with the Dollhouse. That did make me think of Hereditary with the Dollhouse, but yeah, this shot extremely similar.
But yeah, so Aiden tells her that they had drugged her and hid all of their belongings in a crawl space, but Grace doesn't react. The kids, they go and get her medication, but she won't take it. Her mind is just too far gone, and she now fully believes that they are in purgatory. Aiden and Maya's phones have now finally died for real this time, after using them to communicate with their dad over the past couple days. This is another thing that I didn't catch until the second time I watched the movie. I watched it with the captions on
Yeah,
there.
because there's some parts in here that's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Like when they're by the generator and
This is the scene.
Okay, I'm interested because I didn't catch what was said there.
Okay, so do you remember earlier where Maya is upstairs and she's on the phone, and Grace runs up there and like, give me your phone, because she's like, you're on the phone with somebody, and she's like, no, I'm just pretending it's dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, our phones are dead too. So later on, now we're at this scene, and they're down there by the generator, and they realize like this has gotten out of hand, and they need to call their dad.
Yeah.
And Aiden says, well, my phone's dead now. And he asks Maya, he's like, well, call dad on your phone. And she says, I can't. It's dead for real this time. I killed it because I talked to dad too long.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
That's why he didn't come up there sooner, because she's been communicating with him this whole time this charade's been going on.
Okay, I never caught that at all. So I actually rewound that part and still couldn't hear what she said because it was so low, and I just took it as they were both fucking around on their phone for fun or something in between, not thinking it was going to be a big deal, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, both of them have obviously been communicating. I don't know, maybe they told him that Grace's phone was broken. That's why he wasn't talking to her, but they were basically assuring him like, yeah, everything's fine, we're getting along. And that's why he didn't think anything of it. But the last day their phones died, he can't get a hold of any of them. And then he even says like, I haven't talked to anybody for like a whole day. And then he sees this dollhouse set up, and that is what sparks him to leave. I did think it was the first time I seen it. I thought it was a little weird that you left and didn't hear from anybody for days and didn't think anything of it. But this makes a lot more sense. Maya sat and talked to him for a long time, and she said that's what killed her phone.
Yeah, that makes sense because they show her set that clock back, and it glimpses to that a couple of times throughout the movie, and it looks like it's some time has passed. Like this isn't when you're watching the movie, it's hard to tell, but this is over probably a week or two period of uh either that or they're fucking with the clocks and making it seem like it's longer. And I know they are fucking with the
Aiden
clocks,
changed the clock to January.
it seems like as you're watching this movie, we did. She set it back to December, and then I think they were messing with it again to make her think it had been longer. But it seems like because you're just seeing the important parts in the movie that this is over a 2 or 3 day period.
Yes.
Whereas I think this is probably a good week or two. So it makes sense of why. Because I'm like, as a dad, if I don't hear from my kids, and there was some woman that I've been with for, I don't know, 6 months since my wife killed herself, I would think that was there's no fucking way. Like something's got to be wrong. So I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah, it's actually only takes place over like 3 days. So he leaves on December 21st. They wake up. The first day he's not there and all this stuff's going on is December 22nd. He's coming back the day before Christmas, December 25th. When she realizes that the clock has been set to January, she goes back and sets it back to December 22nd. She knows the actual date.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be back the 24th.
And then it's like January 9th next time they show the clock. And
so he still comes back on the 24th. But it shows that the story actually only takes place over 4 days. It's not that long, but considering when you don't have power, you don't have food, and you're cold, 4 days seems a lot longer.
That's something that this so great about this movie too, is there's so many things like that. Like the clock thing is not something I think I noticed the first time I watched the movie. There's so many things that we don't have time to cover in detail, but there's so many things that these kids do to her, part of this plan. And then once you find out they were fucking with her, you look back and you can tell. You start thinking about certain parts and certain things, and it's just the way the story was written. I mean, it was really a genius plan, and there's so many things we can't cover. That makes this movie fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't even originally realize that he had changed the clock until when I watched it with the captions on, and he actually even says, like, I changed the clock. I thought maybe the clock was just off because nobody's been there in fucking like a year or something. I don't know. But yeah, he does state that he had changed the clocks to fuck with her. So Aiden goes to start the generator to get, electricity going again, but now it won't start. I just want to say that Aiden tried for maybe 2 minutes to start the generator and then gave up. Like,
yeah,
I've cranked my lawnmower for way longer than
I was about to say, don't try to get Aiden to cut the grass.
Yeah,
because he's not going to get the lawnmower started.
If I'm in his situation, I'm gonna be like, I'll be down here all day working on the generator.
Yeah, especially with her going fucking crazy.
This is where you can find me if you need to find me.
Yeah, with her going crazy, I would have been down there nonstop until that generator got started. He pulls it 3 or 4 times, and he's like, "Oh well, fucked."
Yeah, well, I guess that's the difference between adult men and a teenager.
I don't know. I gotta feel like if I'm 17 in this situation, I would have been on it for a long time. I would have been really freaked out at this point. You got this crazy lady who was in a cult, and now you've caused her to revert back into her. She's in a psychosis, and she's at this point. I think it's a little after this, but she's literally torturing herself for her sins. She's pulls the log out of the fire and is kneeling down on the log to burn herself, and with all this shit going on, I would have been right back down there trying to crank that.
Yeah, so now Grace fully thinks that they're this purgatory situation and must do a penance to be accepted by God and ascend to heaven. That night, the kids witnessed Grace self-flagellating, which I didn't know that's what that was called, by burning herself on these fire logs while praying, which is what you're just talking about. The kids, they go and they hide up in the attic for the night, avoiding Grace's crazy ass religious stuff.
Yeah, this her screaming, man. That scene where they show her at night and they just hear her screaming all night long. It's so fucking creepy.
Yeah,
I love that
I would almost
shot.
want to go sleep outside.
Yeah, I would have been sleeping next to that generator.
I slept in the basement.
Yeah.
So she ends up confronting them in the morning, insisting that they must sacrifice something for the Lord and free themselves from idols before setting Maya's doll on fire. Richard, after having not been able to get in touch with any of the three of them, frantically drives up to the lodge. Once he arrives, he finds an inconsolable Grace holding his gun with the children behind her. He attempts to talk her into putting the gun down and talking to him about what is going on, but she ignores what he is saying, and in an attempt to prove her beliefs that they are all already dead and in purgatory, she fires the gun at Richard, hitting him in the head and killing him. Aiden and Mia scream and rush to Richard's dead body before making their escape to Richard's car outside. But unfortunately, the car is stuck in the snow. Grace uses the gun to force the kids back inside the lodge.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aiden's 17 and can't fucking drive in the snow, apparently. Because it looks like he backed right into, like, the part that was really deep and just gets stuck there. That's such a horror movie thing to happen.
There's this really cool shot, too, because you're kind of left, like, the camera stays on Richard's dead body, which is laying in this stairwell. And you see the kids run off, and then you see, Grace do that really creepy thing the killers do where they kind of just walk. They just walk towards their victims. Their victims are running, but the killer is just super calm, cool, like they're not going to get away. And you can hear this commotion going on outside, but you don't know what's happening. You don't know if she's got them already, if she's killed one of them already, and you're just left on this shot, and it feels way longer than it probably actually is.
Yeah, they actually dragged this as something I took in my notes. They actually dragged this shot on so when the camera angle does change and shows you that they got stuck, you can hear the kids. It's looking out at the front of the house, and she's walking out, and you can hear the kids freaking out and the motor revving, and then it slightly turns over to the right, and that's when you see that they're stuck, and the walk to the car, like her slowly walking into the car while they're stuck there, and she stops in front of it. Like, I thought that was such a fantastically shot scene. Like, it gives it so much, gives you as an audience so much time for that to sink in. Like, these kids are like, are they going to get out? Is she going to walk up and shoot them? It's just it's a very tense moment. And I thought the way they shot it was done fantastically. That could have been a completely different feeling scene if it would have been shot differently.
Next, we see that she has placed Richard's dead body in a chair seated at the table with her and the children. She starts singing a religious song named Nearer, My God, to Thee. She then places duct tape over her and the children's mouths with the word sin written in black marker, while the loaded gun rests on the table, and then the screen goes black.
What was that song called again? I put Amazing Grace in my
shit. Nearer, my God, to Thee.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not too caught up on my religious anthems.
I looked it up. So
yeah, I put Amazing Grace. I was like, how fitting. Grace is going crazy, and they played it. She starts singing Amazing Grace. I fucking love the end of this though.
It's like so dark. It's so like, I think that for those kids, I mean, as an adult that'd be terrifying, but as a child, that is Because they were waiting in that attic for their dad to show up. They knew he was coming that day, and they were just kind of letting the clock tick down, and that was their one savior. And now they're sitting at a table with his brains leaking out of the back of his head.
Oh, that shot.
There's
that shot
no
too.
one coming. There's nobody else showing up. They know this.
And they start singing with her, which is so like, it's so dark. The ending is so like, it's just geniusly written, grim as fuck, super dark. Everybody dies, and it's so fitting because she ends up reverting back into her dad, and they die in pretty much the same way that her dad killed all these people and killed himself as a cult leader. Like, it's just, I absolutely, I love the grim endings. I've mentioned this, I don't know, maybe the last episode, the episode before, like the endings, the dark movies that don't have a happy ending. This is the crown of those movies. It's so fucking dark.
Yeah, this is why I said you feel kind of empty inside when this movie ends, because it's bad enough for bad things to happen to adults at the end of a story, but these are 2 kids. I mean,
well, these are 2 shitheads too.
They did something fucked up, but they're still kids.
Yeah, they are still kids, but yeah, it's everybody is a bad guy at some point in this movie, though. That's one thing I really like too. Is the dad is kind of the bad guy in the beginning. The kids are completely the bad guy, and then she kind of goes crazy, and she's the bad guy at the end. And I thought that was geniusly written. I loved how they tied the cult, the way everybody died. They tied that back into the end, and the kids end up dying in that same way.
Yeah, when they showed the article for when they were looking her up on the computer, I actually paused and I read the article. And the main chunk part of the article really just talks about cults, the history of cults committing suicide. And then it does talk a little bit about the story, about what happened with her, and essentially like her dad tasked her. I guess the state was making legal moves against the cult, maybe about to arrest him. And that's when he decided to do this mass suicide. And he basically told her, like, your job is to record this. And then once this is all over, you're going to spread the gospel of what we did. Because he painted it as, we're doing this because God told me to do this, not because of the police went, but it's very obvious the police. And she ends up like staying in there with these dead bodies until the police find her. It doesn't really say how long. And then the article is very much a movie article where the rest of the article just repeats the first part of the article. It looks like a really big article, but it's really just,
So I didn't think you were going to pause it.
I didn't think I was going to read that shit. I did. I read all of it.
So there's another part that they fucked up on. So whenever they first get to the cabin, and Grace and the dad are laying down together, and it's like they're about to have sex, and they show him lay on top of her. You see her hand, and her hand and her finger look bruised up. And Brooke was like, she's got tattoos they're trying to cover. And I was like, or she just like banged her hand up or something before. And she actually looked her up, and they had to cover a tattoo on her arm and her hand for this whole movie. And you get like a up close shot of it in that scene.
So originally they had picked another actress to play that role. And that actress, while she was waiting for production to start, had started a journal about like a whole backstory for Grace. And she pretty much did a lot of character building that she could bring to the movie. And then they met the actress that ended up getting the job. They just met her and liked her so much that they ended up replacing her, the other one, at the last minute, which was I mean, she did a really good job.
She did
But
fucking
yeah,
incredible.
that is unfortunate that somebody else had put a lot of time and effort and had already gotten the job, and then the last minute didn't get to do the job. But
they obviously did it for a reason, and it was probably based off of how well this girl was able to play this role.
They said that when they met with her, I think they met with her at like a lunch or something, and they said that the chemistry that they had with her and her understanding of the character was just, it clicked so much better than anybody else that they had talked to. So they thought that she would be better, and she was great in this movie. Yeah, everybody is phenomenal in this movie.
Yep, yeah, that's one thing I got in my ratings is that the acting in this movie was incredible. I couldn't imagine somebody else playing that part as good as she did. I'm sure there's plenty of actresses. I won't say plenty, but there's some out there that could have. But I couldn't imagine this movie without her, because she has the most important role to play. Like, she is the person who snaps. It's the hardest role to play, and she does it incredibly well.
I think her and the two kids are the all-stars of this. I mean, there's not a lot of characters anyway, but the two kids are really good too, because they play the that we don't know what's going on, that, you know, first part. They play that part really well. Like, I you know, I didn't catch on. Like, I thought they were just as clueless as her. And then they play scared really well in the back half of it. And then at the very end, like, them being upset, knowing what's about to happen, they play that part really good, especially the girl who plays Mia. I thought she was great. She did really good.
Yeah,
Bill's good too, but
the kid, yeah, that's why I say I urge anybody listening to go watch this movie, because there's so many detail stuff that we don't have time to cover.
Yeah,
but these kids absolutely, like, everything they do. What the feel of this movie is, most of it, you're like, are they dead or are they not? Like, are these kids doing something to her, or are they actually dead? And everything that the kids do kind of plays into the story, and it makes more sense when you find out that the actual story. But the kids play that incredibly well, and she does fantastic with the there's kind of steps in her breakdown. Like, as different things happen, she goes further and further into it. And I would imagine as an actor, that would be extremely hard to, which makes sense of why they shot it in chronological order.
I think that was a huge help to this movie.
Yeah, I think trying to do those stages of a breakdown shot not in order would have been just almost impossible to keep up with in your head.
This movie it's such a harsh story too. Like, there's like other stuff we didn't talk about. Like, one of the things is when the mom kills herself, that whole section, like the funeral and after the funeral scene with the kids and them being upset. And there's like a scene where Mia is in her room and she's upset because you know, her religious belief is that, you know, I guess if you commit suicide, you can't go to heaven. And it's very obvious that their family's religious because of all the religious stuff in all the homes that they have. And she's up, and the dad's sitting there like, you know, what does a dad tell his daughter, because they've raised her on this religious belief, but now her mom has committed suicide, and she's like, well, my mom's not going to go to heaven. She's hysterical. And he's sitting there, how do you console that? And then he really doesn't. I guess he really doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah, he plays that really well.
And he leaves, and then the brother comes in and, you know, pretty much does about the only thing you could do in that situation. Man, this is just a super harsh story, though. Great, amazingly written. But there's a lot of just emotionally rough stuff in this movie.
A lot of great symbolism, and the movie is dark. It is a dark
Oh,
movie.
everything about this movie is dark.
I mean, whenever you go back and watch this after watching it the first time, the amount of stuff that's in there that you don't catch and that makes more sense when you watch it again is just, it was geniusly written. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, so we'll jump. I got a couple kind of little facts and stuff I always like to throw in at the end. In order to establish the chemistry between the actors playing Aiden and Mia, who are siblings in the movie, the directors took them on several trips together, including rock climbing and ice skating, to establish a bond between the two before filming began. Thought that was a good idea.
No, that's the second time Bill has had to do that. They did that on
It.
with it. Yeah, they actually had them together for like a couple weeks or so. They actually, for that movie, I remember that they put them together because they all had to learn how to ride bikes together. There was only like one of them that knew how to ride a bike, which is just insane to me.
Well, it works because these two are believable as siblings. I totally believe them, these two, as being siblings. They seem like they're close. They didn't just meet. But so the actor who played Grace was kept separated from the kids pre-filming. The pre-filming meeting to maintain a distance from them for their on-screen dynamic. So because they filmed in order, she didn't actually meet them until they filmed the scene where she meets them in the movie.
That's smart.
Yep.
That's smart.
Man, they filmed this movie just like a really smart way to do it.
It's made like those scenes whenever in the beginning, just whenever Aiden, I'm not about to call them Bill, when he's like super hostile to her and he's like, I don't, why would I want to talk to you? Like, I don't want, and I mean, the dynamic feels real. I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, because he didn't know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the directors actually had to fight to film the movie this way. They originally, of course, the studio ones that filmed whatever's the cheapest, financially the best way to do it, which is, a lot of times out of order. And they fought to film it this way because they said it would come out better. And I 100% think that was the right decision. Glad they did that. So the guy who plays Grace's father, aka the cult leader in the film, is actually the actress's real life father.
Yeah, interesting.
He's also an actor.
Does he have a name in the movie? I mentioned him a couple of times, but I just call him Grace's
he
dad.
Does. It's in the article, and I just don't remember it.
I just didn't know if they credited him with a name or if he's just the cult leader.
They named the dog Grady in honor of the caretaker Grady of the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. And in that story, Grady's character went crazy and killed his whole family after being isolated in a snowstorm.
I like that. That's a little Easter egg in there.
Yeah.
I feel like literally every part of this movie was so well thought out.
It was. So that's all I got. Because it wasn't a huge production and it wasn't a really big movie. We don't have a ton of information to go through with this, but we did get there was some good stuff in there though. I don't know, you got anything else you want to talk about before we do rating?
No, that's I'm ready for the ratings.
All right.
This one might surprise you, but
oh, I don't think so.
Okay. No, you want me to go first?
I don't care. You go first.
All right. So I gave this a 4.6 out of 5.
Shooting high.
Yeah, absolutely love this movie. The cinematography is, of course, amazing. It's shot very dry and dark. As far as pacing, it's perfectly done, slow burn. I'm not normally a fan of slow burns, but the way this is shot, it's perfect. It's shot to a pace where you feel the emotions and the creepiness of each scene sink in. Like we talked about already, the acting was absolutely incredible from everybody. You truly feel bad for each character at some point in this movie. And then another thing, this movie is just super underrated, which is a big reason why. I won't say underrated. Well, I guess it is underrated based off the ratings you told me. But it's it's when it comes to notoriety, it's very underrated. Not a lot of people know it, and I urge people to go out and check this out. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I rated it a 4.5. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. So the reason I rated it a 4.5, you already said most of it, but a 5-star rating to me is a perfect movie. It's not only a perfect movie. 5 stars for me is a perfect movie and one of my favorite movies. This movie is a perfect movie. It's just not one of my favorite movies because slow burns are not my favorite type of movies. That's why I deducted the 0.5. I don't think that there's anything you could have done to improve this.
Yeah, I don't have any critiques. When I was doing my ratings, I tried to think of some critiques, and I couldn't. I could say for maybe a 0.4. There's something somebody in the world could have thought of. You know when you watch a movie and it's a perfect 5, like it, and it's very rare. There's only a handful of movies I could think of that is like I watched it was 100% a 5. This was close.
Yeah, I feel bad for not saying it's a 5-star movie because, in my opinion, it's worthy of a 5-star rating. But I only say 5 stars for pretty much my favorite movies. But I think a 4.5 is pretty much right underneath that. I mean, this movie's any movie that makes me feel, something that strong afterwards deserves that high of a rating. I love the characters. My favorite thing I think about the movie though is how it was filmed. The shots of the movie. I love a beautiful movie. I will watch a movie that sucks if it's pretty enough. I mean, I won't rate it a 4.5, but I'll watch it. Yeah, I would say if you have not seen this movie, you have to see this movie. If it's not up your alley of what you like, give it a chance anyway. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But I think you'll at least like parts of it. It's great. It is phenomenal.
This was literally a random Walmart buy. That's how I come across this.
Lucky.
I bought this and a movie called The Turning, which we'll probably never do because it's absolutely terrible. But it was looking for a horror movie. There were the 2 new horror movies out, and I was so happy I was in Walmart that day, and I know about this movie. And I wish more people did.
This movie is just as good as Hereditary to me. Just as good. I wouldn't say Hereditary is better than this. I wouldn't say this is better than Hereditary. This is on the same level to me. I would not discount this at all, comparing it to a movie like that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Hereditary is one of those movies I think when I think of it's just about a perfect 5-star movie. They're right there with each other, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I really got about The Lodge. I mean, we probably talk about The Lodge for a lot longer, but just go watch it instead.
Yeah, there's so much stuff in here that we didn't, in detail wise, that we couldn't cover. It's just go watch it. It's fantastic.
No, I mean, shit, if we got one other person, we could just read the script.
We could just act it out.
We could just do just, on a microphone, just reading of the script. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's it for me in The Lodge. You got anything?
Nope. That's it. Go watch it.
Yeah. You're not my mother. You're just someone my dad fucks.